Hello. Alright, I'm doing this little video for Michael. Evidently he's got a fully automatic M16 that was government issued by the police. And he's got major issues, malfunctions with his rifle. He uses that for self-defense and doing police maneuvers, tactics, whatever. And I told him when I visited him and fired his M16 at the range that if he was in a firefight he'd probably end up getting killed. Because of his multiple malfunctions. He's got a lot of issues. He maintains the weapon, but he does it only up to field stripping. But he needs to go past that field strip and do more of an armor strip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show him how to do that and deal with the issues he had with his M16. So I'm going to use this Bushmaster AR-15. It's designed just like the M16 platform. Functions the same. It even shoots NATO rounds. Look at the barrel stamp 5.56. So I'm able to shoot military NATO rounds and 223s out of this weapon. I'm going to go ahead and break this down. What you want to do is get a punch and push through to separate the upper and lower receivers. These actually stay in place, and you want to be able. This rifle is pretty tight. There you go. Lower receiver. The first issue that Michael had was actually with the Springer. And I told him that when he fired, it wasn't recoil. And he had issues with the rounds actually being stuck inside in here. One round would try to eject and it would try to feed another round and it would get jammed after 3 bullets were fired in fully automatic mode. So at that point I knew that he had some problems either with the gas tube pressure, the bolt not properly cambering, or the injector, extractor and injector, and also with the plunger spring in the back. First thing that we noticed that when I depressed the retention pin, normally this should just pop out, just like that. His didn't, it was still in there. So you can tell it's about maybe 5 inches. They would stick out. So Michael, when you take your spring out, you need to take it out and stretch it out. And then put it back in to make sure that you have enough spring tension for your plunger. This is important for your cycling of the round. You need to understand the cycle of operation of these M16s, how they work, and the reason why you need a proper tension on the coil spring. Yours is worn out. It's probably, you have an old M16, probably Vietnam era government, U.S. government surplus that was sold to the Philippine government. And they're not very well maintained. You have to have a lot of extra supplies. Again, with the spring, normally you just replace it, but in your case, you're not given a budget to replace parts, so you have to make do. Stretch the spring out. That's your first thing you need to do. Make sure that it moves back and forth, okay? And you have at least 4 to 5 inches of spring that sticks out, and that's how you know you have enough coil and recoil force on the plunger. And this is important because when the bolt slides back on the inside, if you understand the operation, the cycle operation of these M16s, when you fire a round, gas goes through the gas tube and out the muzzle. 80% of the gas goes out the muzzle. The other 20% goes through this gas tube in here, and it starts right in the barrel. And here sends it back. It shoots the gas back into this little hole right here, shoots the bolt back, and at the same time the extractor extracts the round out of the chamber and then ejects it out. The back of this bolt hits the plunger here, compresses it, and then it goes all the way back. It sends the bolt forward again, and when it does, it picks up a round from your magazine and chambers it in. These cam bolts right here, the cam bolt, these little teeth right here, engage and turn, lock the bolt in place, and then fires around, and then the cycle repeats itself over and over again until you're out of bullets. Then you have to reload. That's basically the cycle of operation, is why you just basically have to make sure all the parts are functioning and properly maintained. Now the fuel strip, this is considered a fuel strip here. It's taking out the charger arm, breaking the upper receiver, then you got your bolt carrier group. The bolt carrier, you have a cotter pin here. That's actually the firing pin retention pin. All you do is just pull it out, and the firing pin should fall out right there. The firing pin, that's another thing that you need to keep clean. Oil. See, this one's been fired. I fired about maybe 500-600 rounds out of this AR-15. And then you take the cam bolt out, and you got the bolt. You got the bolt carrier separated, your firing pin, your cutter pin, your cam, and then you're actually this other part right here with the cam, your gas rings, your extractor and ejector. Now, in your situation, Michael, you're having problems with the feeding and the extraction of the rounds. One of the things, I'm not going to do it here, but I'm going to show you in this little book here. This is the actual bolt right here, and you have the extractor and ejector here. This is the part right here. There's a spring that's in here. All you have to do is get a punch, like one of these, stick it in here, and then just tap it down. And if you don't have a hammer, you can use a bayonet handle, whatever. But make sure you hold it in place, because there is a spring in here and it will eject out. You don't want to lose it. The only reason I'm bringing that to your attention is that this spring here, especially in your M16, is so old, it's probably got the original springs. There could be a rust problem. It needs to be cleaned out. Maybe there's gunk in there, gunpowder, dirt, whatever. These springs do wear out, they do compress, and they do get worn out over time. Sometimes they're rusted. Eventually what will happen, if it's really oxidized and rusty, that eventually it will fail and the spring will crack. So what will happen, you'll have a loose extractor. It won't be tight like how it is on this bolt here, and it'll just wiggle back and forth. That's how you know you have a complete failure of that spring. And if you don't have a replacement spring on hand, your weapon is basically useless. You can't extract rounds. You might be able to feed one round in, and then you have to manually pull it out, and it's not going to work. Especially, like I said, in a firefight situation, you depend on your weapon, and the last thing you need is for your rounds to either jam, misfire, or not properly extract out of your weapon. And like I said, when we were at the range, you're only able to go through 3 rounds before the rifle jammed on you, and that was on fully automatic mode on a 3rd round clip, magazine, I mean. So again, you need to check that. There's also the ejector has also got another spring in there, and that can be maintained also. When you put the parts back, the best thing to do is put a drop of oil inside the springs to keep them lubricated and working properly. And also you want to clean your bolt cams, because again, if you got gunk, gunpowder, dirt, oil built up in here, this will not properly sit inside of here and lock in the chamber for your round to go off. Then you have a headspace issue. It won't properly seat right. So in your case, Michael, you really need to get some springs and replace the springs inside. Make sure they're not rusty. Oil all these parts, scrub them down, especially around the gas rings and around this back part right here. You can see there's some carbon buildup right here. You can feel I can feel it's rough. You can't really see it because it's black. But you need to get a toothbrush or a wire brush and scrub this part in here to get all this gunpowder deposit removed from your gas rings in the back of this the gas ring apparatus. This is the bolt carrier. In your case, you had an issue with the bolt on the back. You see mine is round. Yours was actually more square shaped. On the lower left, you had a piece of steel that was chipped off. That right there, I don't know why it chipped off, but you shouldn't have any problems with that. If you have to replace the bolt, then you have to do basically a headspace checking just to make sure that the bolt is safe with the new, with the old rifle. With this carrier group, again, you just clean it the way you normally do the barrel. Clean it out, scrub it down. There's the gas tube connector right here. You can run a Q-tip in here and clean it out, blow it out. Make sure there's nothing stuck inside the gas tube itself, and just clean it out. After you replace all the springs, you want to put everything back together again, okay? And there's one way of doing it. You slide it in and it rotates. The cam pin will only go one way, okay? And make sure that your extractor is on the right hand side, because that's the way the rounds come out of the chamber, on the right hand side. And you can see the matching hole. Put your cam pin in. Oops. You put it in sideways and then you twist it 90 degrees. When you twist it 90 degrees, you can see there's going to be like the hole matches up, and that allows you to put the firing pin in. Make sure it goes all the way, the firing pin goes all the way through. When you do that, put the cotter pin, the safety retention pin in, and make sure it's all the way in, okay? And then your bolt should go back and forth without any problems. Knock your bolt carrier down, make sure that the firing pin stays in place, and it should if you properly inserted it, and then go back and forth. Again, what you should do is put a drop of oil right in here, make sure that the bolt goes back and forth, the bolt cam going smoothly. This bolt and bolt carrier is actually pretty tight. It's very tight tolerance in this bolt carrier, which I'm actually pretty surprised. It's actually a civilian weapon. It's a Bushmaster AR-15, but evidently they have a tolerance that's actually pretty tight. So that should resolve your problems of the rounds extracting out and ejecting out of the chamber. And if that doesn't resolve the problem, then you need to look at something else. You also need to, verify your gas tube. Take these handles off. Make sure that you don't have any dents in the gas tube that goes from the barrel or from the part right here all the way down into the chamber. Because any dents in the gas tube will have resistance, and the gas pressure will not be sufficient to push the bolt back. And if it doesn't do that, then you're going to have constant jamming problems and extraction problems. But again, I think if you fix your plunger spring, check your springs on your bolt itself for the extractor, that it should resolve all those problems that you've been having with your M16. Alright, and then you just put it back. Basically, you've been maintaining your weapon pretty well. You oil it, you clean it. But again, it's just like taking a car to a car wash, and you wash the outside, you vacuum it out. But if you don't change the spark plugs, change the oil, eventually the car will fail on you. Same thing with these M16s. If you don't maintain them, they will fail. And the only reason I'm showing you how to do more than just a field strip is because I know in the Philippines you guys don't have a lot of resources and you don't have armorers readily around, and you have to do a lot of the maintenance on your own. So the only way to do it properly is that you're educated and you understand what needs to be done and how to correct any problems. Because again, if you're in a firefight, which you've been telling me that you go out and do a lot of drug raids and fighting those Abu Sayyaf and the MILF people, that you need your firepower at the ready when you need it if you're under attack. So again, just doing those simple items will save you a lot of grief in the field. I would recommend that you carry a little mini kit with you, and I know you can't carry your springs, but at least carry an extra firing pin, oil, brush, just small stuff that you can keep your weapon clean in the field. And I just showed you how to do the armor strip on the bolt here, because normally that's not included in a field strip. They only allow usually armorers to do that because of the spring situation. And again, here in the United States, they tell us that when we replace the springs or take any of these pins, firing pins, etc., we just throw them away and put brand new ones in. You guys don't have that luxury, so sometimes you might have to reuse them. If they're still workable, then you need to stretch them out so you can maintain the recoil, so the weapon could function properly. And the worst case scenario, if it's rusted out, you're going to have to replace it. You have no choice. Okay? Alright, and then all you do is just put your weapon back together again. Take your upper receiver, take your charge handle, put it in place. Make sure the bolt is forward. Slide it in. Let it go all the way in. You hear that little click. That click lets you know that the charging handle is all the way full and the bolt is actually cambered in with those cam bolts. And so it looks like this right here. And then you just put your little receiver on. There you go. And then you want to check the cycle. Make sure you can pull the charger back, hold it, inspect it, let it go. I love that sound, that clicking. It's a kick. And then make sure you hit your forward assist. Make sure it doesn't jam. That might help you out in a firefight in case it doesn't go all the way. You always do that forward assist to make sure the bolt is fully seated. And again, then you use direct fire. Just pull it back, put it on fire, and you should hear a click. And you know it's functional. Okay? That's about it. The other thing I did notice about your M16 is that you still have that carrying handle on your on your rifle. Then you have your scope mounted on top of it. So your scope sits this high, and your sights are down here. Yet your muzzle's down here, your scope's up here. So if you try to zero it out, you can have a lot of zeroing to do because of the distance. But the thing is that the charging handle, that carry handle, really needs to be taken off your weapon. It has no use, no purpose. And the best thing to do in your situation, since you do a lot of tactical operations, is to have a tactical sight. Something like this little apparatus right here. It's basically a sight used for quick target acquisition in close combat situations. You've got a reticle here, you can turn it on, it gives you a red dot, you can illuminate it, and when it does, it allows you to have a wide field of view so you can shoot with both eyes open. So when you're aiming, it actually goes on the weapon like this, just like this other optical that I have, and you're able to look through here with both eyes open, and the red dot, after you zero this in, you should be able to hit your target no matter where it's coming, left to right, right to left, etc., or in front of you. And it's more for tactical operations, like I said, that you're involved in. The scope you got on your M16 right now is actually for more accurate long distance shots, which usually in police tactics, unless you're a sniper, you have no use for it. It looks good on the rifle, but the functionability of it really doesn't serve you any purpose in close combat. Again, this tactical sight is really what you should have on a pick-me rail, just like that, and that way you can maneuver in the field in close quarters, in close combat situations, housing projects, whatever, when you're doing your drug raids, without giving up your firepower. Now, by doing all these things that I've discussed, it might actually help you in other ways. It doesn't make sense to have a fully automatic weapon and you just go full auto and not hit anything. You just waste an entire round, magazine, 30 rounds downrange, and hit nothing. Serves no purpose. You're just wasting ammo, and you might need that ammo later on. So with these gadgets right here, you could actually minimize the wasting of rounds and by being more accurate. And by being more accurate, not only do you have a better chance of surviving a firefight, you can minimize collateral damage, because any civilians that are nearby will probably, hopefully, won't get hurt. But again, it'll save your ammunition when you actually need it the most in those close combat situations. There's other things that I saw your video that you showed me on that drug raid that you did. It looked like it was like mid-morning, around 9 or 10 o'clock, based on the sun. I wish I would have went on that operation with you as a ride along, but that didn't happen. So luckily you didn't have to use your weapon, but if you did, you might have been in trouble. Like I said before, now that you have the knowledge of what to do to maintain your weapon and to keep it from malfunctioning, or to know how to correct it properly, it should hopefully take care of those issues. You really need to write a letter or contact General De La Rosa and ask him for resources, even minimal, just for simple stuff like firing pins, springs, stuff like that. And for these tactical sights. This sight was only, I think it was $49.99, $50 for this right here. It's not the cheapest, well, it is the cheapest, but not the most expensive. It's more expensive than this, but this does serve the purpose, like I said, in tactical situations, because you're going to be shooting in close quarters. Alright, and that's about it. After you get your weapon configured correctly with your sights and whatever, then you want to go zero your M16. Again, when we were at the range, you told me that your scope was not zeroed, your weapon's not zeroed. We were basically firing at it and hoped that it would hit a target. Well, we were missing more than we were hitting, which is not good. Because again, in your line of work, you need to be able to hit your target, make target acquisition, and make sure that your rounds that you're shooting out of the barrel goes down range and hits the target that you're trying to hit. It doesn't make sense to aim at a bad guy and all of a sudden you hit, you know, an old lady somewhere that's standing 10 feet away. That's not going to be good for your PR. So again, the reason I'm asking, you know, telling you about these sites and whatever, again, it's because of the target acquisition, being able to move quickly, being able to keep both eyes open. That way you maintain your periphery, your vision from left and right. You can see movement on both sides, and quickly, if you have to engage, you can quickly engage without having to sight in like you do with the regular scope for long distances. And again, you got the wrong scope on your rifle right now. So I suggest taking that scope off, using one of these tactical sights, putting a Picatinny rail on it, and taking that carrying handle off, because no one uses it. No one, unless you're lazy. And again, if you're carrying your M16 using the charging handle, you're not in tactical mode. That's just an idiot. The way to, as you well know, tactical mode is carrying this weapon at the ready. If you're on the left, you have the left flank at the ready. If you're on the right, then you're at the right ready in this position here. Even though I'm right-handed, if you're on the right, you protect your right flank in this manner here. There's no way you can shoot this way. You have to be in this left-handed configuration. So you always have to be more or less ambidextrous. That's basically Tactical Combat 101. That's how we operate in the Marine Corps. When you're doing combat ops in the field, protecting your flanks and always being at the ready. So in case you're ambushed or engaged, you're automatically returning fire and not having to, you know, go from a charging handle carrying to the ready mode. So again, if you have any individuals using a carrying handle to carry the weapon around, they need to be instructed differently. So again, take the carrying handle off, take the scope off that you have on there, and get one of these tactical acquisition sight, is what I call quick sight reaction sights. A lot of people, is what they call them, reaction, but they're actually people that use that are in competitive shooting use these type of sights. And again, you can see the reticle is pretty wide, so that way you get a wide field of range, and you can see pretty well left and right, so you can pan with the rifle. And this thing is it's got parallax adjustment, so that means that you turn the weapon sideways, it's not going to change where the red dot sits. So if you're in a situation that you're leaning against a building, a wall in the corner, and you're having to shoot sideways, you can still aim and your point is still hitting the target, and you don't have to move around. In some situations you have to shoot behind a corner, engage your enemy or whoever in different configurations other than straight up and down. If you don't have the parallax correction, your sight is going to be off. But in this mode, this one's corrected for that, so it never wavers. So once you got it zeroed, it stays in place. So you can use it this upside down, this way, sideways, in this configuration. As long as you can sight in and look through the reticle, you can hit your target. That's the way it's designed. And that's the advantage of this particular model. That's the reason I got it. Even though I don't do tactical assaults, it's good to have, especially if you're going to competitive shooting. That should cover all the aspects that I was concerned about on your M16. Once I go back and see, I'll go ahead and some other items and discuss your weapon. And like I said, the last thing that you need to do is go ahead and zero your weapon. I know you still got those iron sights on there, But when I looked through those iron sights, they were hard to see, hard to focus on. Maybe it's my aging eyes. But again, you're having to look underneath the scope, and it was creating like a little shadow. So I don't even recommend using those scopes unless it's a secondary sights. Get yourself a tactical sight. But again, once you get zeroed in, they recommend that on these M16s, you sight in at 25 yards and then again at 100 yards. And what I did was, to give you an idea, after I sighted in, this was my sight at basically 100 yards. See these 3 bullet holes right here? The size of a penny. Even though I didn't hit the bullseye, which is down here, it's about maybe 5-6 inches low, I was able to get 3 shots the size of a penny, which I think is pretty damn good. You can see those 3 bullet holes right here. Right there, 1, 2, 3. And here's a penny. This just tells me that the rifle is actually precise, but it's not accurate right now. When I can get these 3 in this red dot, then the weapon's precise and accurate. Right now, I'm just showing that it's precise based on how tight the grouping is. So once you get that point, you can make your adjustments. In my case, I needed to move my windage 1 click to the right and probably about 4 clicks down to hit the bullseye. Anyways, that should do it for now, and I guess I'll talk to you later on. But I hope you take my advice seriously, because I'm trying to help you out, because I know you're in that line of work and it's very dangerous over there, and you depend on your weapon. I see you carry it everywhere you go. When you go to your parents' house, whatever, you carry that rifle with you everywhere you go. It's your basic primary self-defense weapon other than your sidearm. But again, in your situation, I understand the need to have a reliable weapon, and hopefully this will resolve some of those issues. And what you really need to do is also educate your fellow PNP officers in doing the same thing, because again, not only do you depend on your weapon, you also depend on your fellow PNP officers when you're in a firefight situation to be able to return fire when needed, and not only return fire, but return fire accurately with precision and accuracy, which I was talking about in this format right there. So when you aim, and you're aiming at someone's midsection, that you hit their chest and with 1 round, and not spend 10 rounds and hit nothing. So all you're doing is wasting bullets and money and getting nowhere, and possibly getting shot at. Because I see that the statistics right now is about 3,000 police officers are dead. 1,000 or over 1,100 police officers dead compared to the 3,000 drug pushers that were killed. So you have a ratio of every time you arrest 3 drug pushers, dealers, whatever you call them, that there's always 1 police officer killed in line of duty, which is actually pretty high. It shouldn't be so, but I think part of the problems is due to your old weapons not being properly maintained, lack of training, because I know you don't get to shoot a lot over there because of the bullets you have to pay on your own. It's not like here in the United States, the police department provides some bullets and you go to the firing range and you shoot whatever you want. I know over there you got to pay for your own bullets, so a lot of people aren't willing to do that or can't afford it, which is a shame. And that's another thing you need to, I think, ask your General De La Rosa to increase your training to include ammunition for the police officers so they can go to the range and practice. Because the only way you can get better is by practice. If you don't practice, it's just like anything else. You don't get good at it. And that's about it. That's all I have to say for now. Hopefully this was enlightening for you. And I'll see you whenever. Take care.